Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Side Quest podcast. What you're about to hear is our Kyle McCarley interview from MTAC of last year. We haven't talked about it too much, but I'm sure you've heard us talk about this on earlier episodes. We're very excited to put this out. It's our first in-person interview that we've ever done, and we're very excited to do more of these in the future. So let us know what you guys think, and hope you enjoy. Roll that intro.
Earth 2020. Society is in ruins, and a virus runs rampant among the world's humble citizens. They are lost. In these dark times, three wayward nerds cross paths at the House of India and realize they are destined to be friends. And so they did. This is their story. The story of the Side Quest.
Hello everyone, we are here at MTAC Blackjack and super excited to be joined by guest Kyle McCarley. Kyle, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
How's your MTAC going so far?
It's going great. I'm having a blast. I'm getting to do some of the bigger, more fun panels that other cons for whatever reason are just scared to let me come and do. So I'm excited to.
We're very fearless here. When
Yeah,
it comes
yeah,
to our
yeah.
panels.
I'm excited to get to do some fun stuff here.
Yeah. We've had discussions from things like dog sodomy and
Oh my gosh.
burial was a big theme last night of the Amanda Miller's
Okay.
panel. How to bury people, dispose of bodies. That was a big thing.
All right. So I'm
so yeah.
missing the really good things.
Yeah, absolutely. We are just going full in here at MTAC. So I'll just start off with an easy question. Kyle, what are some things that you've been working on that you can share with us?
Well, I am currently actively still working on the NieR Automata, or Automata, depending on who you ask, anime with Aniplex and Bang Zoom, where they got the whole cast back, which is great, getting to play in that sandbox again. Recently, let's see, there's a game that came out from Binary Haze Interactive called Redemption Reapers. I was the character Luff, L-U-G-H, and I also got to direct the English voiceover in that game, so that was pretty cool. I got to do a really cool character in the current season of Fallout 76. His name is Endearing, and he is a cryptid hunter. And if you imagine Zap Brannigan as a cryptid hunter, that's Endearing, and that was really cool.
He's sending wave after wave of your own men.
He's really fun character.
Right. I've got a question of, in getting into acting, was there any specific performance or something you saw that was like, that moved you enough to like really get into the industry? Or like, how did you get into this? Voice acting or acting?
It's so funny that you asked that question, because I feel like that's a question that I need to ask myself every now and then. When you're a kid, you want to do everything. You want to be an astronaut and a firefighter and a baseball player, all of the things. And when I was a kid, actor was always on that list. And as the other stuff fell off, actor stayed. I cannot remember a time when I didn't want to be an actor. So I don't know what it was that like was the impetus for that's what I want to do. But there have certainly been performances that I've seen that have made me go, ooh, that's really cool. Especially when we're talking about voiceover specific, because that's the type of acting that I ended up finding my real passion for. I look at one of the earliest ones that I can think of was the audiobook narrator for the Harry Potter series. Ooh. Jim Dale was so good, and that's what got me thinking, hey, maybe I could do audiobooks for a while. Thankfully, I don't do those anymore, but I used to. And Jim Dale, I definitely credit for that. There's a ton of voiceover performers that I can nod to. Like Rob Paulson is fantastic, Billy West, Jim Cummings, Maurice LaMarche, Tress MacNeille, Phil Lamar. There's like all of those big heavy hitter, from the cartoon shows when I was a kid. Those are the people that I'm like, man, I would really love to work with them someday. And I have had the chance to work with Phil Lamar.
Nice.
But yeah, so it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it was, but there's a lot.
What's the biggest challenge for you as an actor?
The biggest challenge for me as an actor, man. Oh, this is getting deep. So I think part of what makes acting so appealing is that there is this joy to be found from performing, from entertaining other people, and getting to play pretend. And when I was younger, not even that long ago, like 5 or maybe 10 years ago, like just breaking into the type of work that people know me for now, every job was new and exciting and everything was like shiny, and I had so much joy going into work on anything, and it didn't matter what it was. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten more jaded. Everything's gotten more familiar, and it's not that I don't still love what I do, because I definitely do, but I don't feel that same thrill of excitement anymore when I walk in. Like, I feel like it sounds egotistical to say it, but I feel like I've scaled the mountaintop and there's no new heights to reach. So it doesn't really matter what the job is. Like, some things feel a little more exciting than others, but it all starts to feel very familiar. And I think the biggest challenge that I face now as an actor is being able to maintain that sense of joy and excitement and thrill for what I'm doing.
So just as a follow-up, what keeps you motivated? Because I know voice acting is a very difficult job, because, to use a sports analogy, they say, if you hit the ball 3 times out of 10 in baseball, you're a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Like the rate of success for voice acting and being
if you're booking 10% of your auditions, you're a rock star.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even possible.
Yeah.
I think what keeps me motivated, honestly, is just the joy of living. Like, I genuinely enjoy my life, and I enjoy having the freedom that this career has afforded me to just go and do other stuff. Like, I love being able to play pretend and entertain people, but I also love, the rest of my life. And I think that's the biggest motivating factor for me to keep doing what I'm doing. That, plus the fact that I cannot really imagine myself doing anything else at this point. So,
of all the roles you've had, like, throughout your entire career, which one have you felt like the most connected to? Like, the one character that, whether it be something in your life that like made the performance better, or just the character's story, like what has it been?
I like the way that you phrased this question, as opposed to which character is your favorite character, because that's always like trying to pick your favorite child. But I've felt a strong connection with a lot of different roles that I've played over my career. I think I've got to say that the one that I think I've got to go with 9S from NieR Automata. And again, I'm super thrilled to be able to be playing with that again right now, working on the anime. But the story is just so good. It's not even about the fact that I can relate to the character really well, just because like I have similar experiences or something. Because there have been jobs like that where I've worked on something and I'm like, ooh, this hits close to home, because this is really similar to something that I'm going through in my life right now. But with a story like NieR, it's just so well written, and there's so much depth to those characters that it's just easy to slide right into that role, because it's all like, I feel like all the work is done for me and I can just kind of play, which is really, really cool.
Nice.
What are some of your interests outside of acting? I know you've got your Twitch where you do a lot of war game stuff.
So the two big things that people know me for what I do outside of acting, obviously I'm a huge board game nerd. I do stream on twitch.tv/BNB Tabletop. every Sunday night that I'm not at a convention. The Board and Barrel, it's a show where me and some of my friends and then guests consisting of voice actors and content creators and sometimes board game developers. We come and play board games for 4 hours at a time, and it's a lot of fun. I love board games. I love streaming board games. I think if there's one thing that I could imagine myself doing for money, if anyone would pay me for it, it would be playing board games, other than acting. I'm also, as a lot of people who know me know, I am a big fan of the Colorado Avalanche.
Hell yeah.
Big time hockey fan. I play beer league hockey one night a week. I love hockey. I have since I was a kid. Partially,
Which do you play?
I tend to play left wing.
Okay.
Sometimes right. Honestly, I've played all positions. I don't like to play center because I'm terrible at winning faceoffs. But I'm comfortable pretty much. I'm equally bad at every position. We'll put it that way. I love hockey.
You think the Avs have another run this year?
I think they have a chance. I think it is not nearly as much of a home run as it was last year. They got a chance, though. They definitely have a chance.
I do want to bring back the board game question. In all of like your history of playing board games, right? Which one has been like? Have you I'm trying to word this right? If you like, what's the one thing like people who like create board games or make board games that's like, don't do that anymore? Like, we wish we could fix this. Like in playing board games, what's something that you think could?
I think the mechanic that I think it's a dead mechanic now anyway. I don't think modern board games utilize it anymore. But roll and move is ridiculous. It's random and pointless. Like the old Candyland. Actually, Candyland I think was with cards, which is already better than roll and move. Roll and move is terrible, and I'm glad that modern board games don't use it anymore.
Who's your favorite out of all time?
My favorite Avalanche player out of all time? Oh, that's got to be... I think I got to go Joe Sakic. For all time, Joe Sakic. I mean, give it another 5 or 10 years, Kyle McCarley or Nathan McKinnon could top him. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Mine's Patrick Law. But I think that's just because I loved how cocky he was.
He was my first jersey, actually.
Mine was Sakic.
Player jersey. But I have a Sakic, I have a Forsberg, I got a lot. I got a lot of jerseys now.
I do have another kind of question, more about the in the booth stuff for voice acting or video games. Can you go into detail about how much like creative control you or like other actors would have in the dubbing process or in the gaming side when like voicing a character? Like, do you get to kind of talk to the director and go, hey, this might sound pretty good here?
I always approach it like it's a collaborative effort because I think it is. I don't ever think of, because I've kind of had my fingers in a lot of different pieces of this industry now. I've been the director, I've been the script adapter, and I feel like I don't feel like any of those roles is like the boss over the other the actors or anything like that. I feel like it is a collaborative piece that you're working on. The director is going to be the person, hopefully anyway, who knows the material better than everybody else that's involved. Not always the case, actually. With video games, there's clients on the line who definitely know the material better than the director does. So you kind of defer to whoever the expert in the room is a lot of times. But I always feel comfortable, and always have felt comfortable pitching my ideas for like, hey, what if we tried something like this? Now, that being said, as actor, I recognize that I'm not the expert in the room. So as actor, if I pitch an idea that the director says, actually, no, let's try something else, I'm going to defer to them always. If I feel really, really strongly about something, I might ask, can I just give you one that's what I'm thinking? And then you can use it or not, which more often than not, if it comes to that, they don't end up using it. Sometimes they do, and it makes me sleep well at night.
It's good that you have that sense of empowerment just to, put things up there.
The thing that I think a lot of newer actors or people in this industry kind of get stuck feeling like they need to impress people, or they need to not make waves, or I feel like it's important to recognize that, like, everybody in the room is on your side. You're not there, like, it's not an adversarial relationship, because they all want you to succeed. They all want you to get the line the way that they want it, like the way that they need it, so that they can move on to the next thing. Because it's all, so it is a collaborative process. And I think a lot of people kind of get stuck in their heads and like, oh, I don't want to disappoint them. I want to give them what they want. And you can't come at it from an approach of, I got to give them what they want. You got to come at it from a collaborative approach of, let's make this thing as good as it can be, or what it needs to be for this particular character. That makes sense.
I know throughout the years, obviously the dubbing process of like Japanese media to English has kind of gotten better, especially if you look at like modern day examples of like Persona 5's English dub, Yakuza's, or even like modern dubs like My Dress Up Darling, or even the Persona 5 anime dub, where they're not just translating it and then putting in there. It's now become like, we're actually going to write it.
Yeah, we localize.
Localize. Yeah. Have you seen kind of like that change from like kind of being from early days to now?
You know, I feel like by the time I was breaking into anime and localized video games, it was already headed in that direction. And I've worked with some clients who are much more, no, we need to stick to the Japanese intention with everything. And then other clients that are kind of give us a little bit more leeway to try and localize. And I feel like the mindset has definitely gotten to a point now in the industry where we are attempting to localize. We are trying to make sure that, yes, we honor the original intention, but we also make the story and the dialogue make sense for Western audiences. If there's something that's very culturally Japanese in the dialogue, and this is especially common with comedy, because what's funny in Eastern culture is not at all the same thing as what's funny in Western culture. So if we want to still make the show funny, we localize. We come up with different stuff that is funny that still fits with whatever the story is, and we change things as needed around that. And I've seen that mindset has definitely become more and more prevalent within the industry over the past 10 years. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. I did want to also ask specifically, you've obviously voiced in like a lot of, shonen stuff, and like you always had NieR, which is a whole different
right.
thing.
Yeah.
How was it voicing a character like Mikazuki, where Gundam is all about like the politics and cool big robots fight, but there's politics and war and all this stuff where I think they do a good job of handling all of those moments.
It's funny that you asked that question like that, because the politics are not a factor for Mikazuki at all in that show. Like he is a warrior focused on the fight and taking care of his loved ones. But honestly, like on a personal note, getting to work on Gundam, like that was huge for me. When I booked that job, I had yet to book a lead role in anything that anybody really cared about yet. I had worked on some other anime where I'd been a supporting character, or something, in the focal, like in the realm of the focal point of the show, but not necessarily the leading role. And I got the audition for Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, and I went, oh man, it would be so cool to work on this in some capacity. Because when I was a kid, Toonami was an after-school block, and Gundam Wing was my favorite anime, for sure. I went to school in cosplay, before that was a term, as Catra Roberta Winter on a regular school day for no reason, because me and my friends had all picked characters from the show that were our character. We were definitely the cool kids at the school. So Gundam Wing was like that held a special place in my heart, and I got an audition for a Gundam show that was sort of kind of Gundam Wing-ish, because Gundam Wing was like its own thing within the Gundam world, and IBO was also that, and it evoked a lot of the same feelings for me just looking at the audition material. And I was like, this would be really cool to just be somebody in this show. And then I booked Mikazuki. And so I got, not only did I get to be in it, I got to be a Gundam pilot. I got to be the main character in a Gundam series. So it was a lot of firsts for me, and it held something, special to me.
How was like just recording and like meeting the other actors at panels and just that whole process of like being Mikazuki until the show's end? It
was definitely still in that period where everything is new and exciting, everything is great. So I loved everything about it. And I've crossed paths now with Johnny Young Bosch a couple times. And Jeremy and Cassandra, I think I've gotten to know a little better than him. But not necessarily in relation to Gundam. It's just kind of like, it's weird how our industry, like, it's so very solitary. As actors, we work like the actor and the director and the engineer and maybe somebody from the client are in the room, and that's about it. Like, it's one actor at a time. For dubbing, especially for video games, almost exclusively. Occasionally for Western animation, when we're doing prelay recording audio, we will have a group record, but that's less and less common now. And so it's kind of a solitary experience. We don't get to meet the people we're working, quote unquote, with very often until we start doing conventions. And then, like, this is where we socialize with each other, is at these cons. But Johnny's great. Jeremy's fantastic. Cassandra's great. Like, I love all of those people. They're super cool people.
I do have one. I mean, this kind of could relate to all the famous actors and voice actors you've mentioned, but is there any franchise that you've seen or that is coming out with stuff, whatever, that, man, I'd love to work for that? Like, that'd be the one, like, dream thing to work on, whether it be video game, anime, or working with another voice actor.
The big bucket list franchise I kind of sort of get to scratch off now is Star Wars, because I got to do Star Wars Visions. I did the script adaptation for 2.5 episodes of that little mini series, and then I got to play some bit parts in a couple of them as well, and that was really cool. I still don't really consider that crossed off my bucket list because it's not canon to the Star Wars universe. So I would like to be a named character in Star Wars somewhere in the Star Wars universe, because I've always been a massive Star Wars fan. And in recent years, I have gotten super hooked on The Expanse as a sci-fi nerd. I don't know if they'll ever do more with that franchise, but sign me up if it happens.
Yeah. I think, is there any others we should ask? Or
Yeah, I do have one. I'll let you finish your career. But has there ever been a role where you're recording your lines and everything, and then the darkness of the story just kind of seeps in and gets to your own mental state where you start feeling bad because of the lines that you're recording and how the story is going for a character?
I sort of kind of touched on this in an earlier question, but there have been times when life in general is paralleling a little too closely with what's happening in the story. And it makes it really easy to get into the shoes of the character, but it also just takes a toll on your mental state. That was, I mean, when life is already kicking you while you're down, that's kind of just putting a little bit of extra salt into your wounds when that type of thing happens. And you kind of just rely on whatever sort of therapy coping mechanisms you've got to try and deal with just feeling down in general. I don't think I've had any instances because we tend to try and keep things light in the booth, especially when we're working on heavy material. Like the director, every director I've ever worked with on something like that has known this is heavy stuff. Let's take a breather. Let's joke around a little bit once we get through the really heavy, dense awful stuff, we can decompress for a little bit and then get back to it. I think that's kind of crucial to fostering a healthy work environment.
Definitely. The reason that we ask, we're all NieR fans, but we're also very big into Berserk. We know that you were Judo. Judo was my personal favorite character, and that
I had
her, obviously.
That was such a short session for me because that was in the not the original,
right?
But
yeah,
yeah, exactly. So it was a really quick session. Like I actually think I did 2 or 3 sessions for it, but they were all really short, like 30 minutes or something. So I barely even remember that project now. For NieR, yeah, stuff got heavy, but it was cathartic in a way, and it was such a good story that I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like this is so cool getting to work on this. Like I never started feeling down about that project. It was always just sheer joy at getting to be part of it.
Yeah, they do a good mix of beautiful sadness and fun with NieR.
Yeah. And I kind of I like dark stories to a certain extent. I like it when it's a gut punch that makes you go, oh, that sucks so bad for that character. That's awesome. That's great storytelling.
Yep.
Because life does that. And I like when media gives you, I mean, obviously there are times in life, like during the pandemic, we need a series like Ted Lasso to come along and make us all feel good and warm inside. But when life is good, in general, I like to see a little bit of the darker, dirtier stuff. So
definitely. But yeah, I think that's it for us. You have anything else?
Just want to say thank you so much, Cal, for your time. Hopefully, we'll get you back and we'll just play some board games or something.
Sounds good. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.